Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Now that we're about halfway through this summer semester, I'm sorry I can't figure out why there's a glare. I apologize for that. I am addressing question 7, chapter 8, related to environmentalism and whether or not it is a national security issue. Absolutely it is. This is huge on the international agenda right now. There is increased awareness and environmental activism in the United States related to not only politics but national confidence in the government and then of course international relations, which I'm going to talk about. The sustainment of natural resources has garnered increased attention over the last few decades, and Snow suggests that political activists for environmentalism and politicians or national policies are often at odds. These oftentimes aren't even the same types of people who are attracted to these causes. Actually, it seems like it's an us and them mentality. That is certainly an issue in the political arena. We also do have environmental terrorists. I think that is a national security issue. We have the environmental political activism that is relatively new, as I mentioned. So there's not a lot of trust there. There's not a lot of experience there. Environmental science and just even the whole Go Green movement. These are relatively new phenomena in it's still not even mainstream, I don't think, politically. So it's new. It's still what I would consider, even though more popular movement, it's still a fledgling movement if you look at the history of political activism in the United States. If we take that out of the domestic arena into the international and we look at the scarcity of resources, whether it's clean, potable water, or even more so, petroleum and issues like the Carter Doctrine, where petroleum in the Middle East, well, petroleum in general, was declared a national vital interest, specifically in the Middle East. We understand that this is a national security issue. What goes on in the Middle East affects the United States, and hence our continued involvement there. Access to oil it just affects our daily life, and Snow discusses different means of conservation. I won't go into that. But it is on the agenda. How can we conserve? How can we rely on other forms of fuel? What do we do about Russia now that it's the second largest exporter of petroleum in our relationship and its resurgence? These are national security issues. Another one is water in the Middle East. We see the issues between Israel and Syria and Palestine, or Palestinian state that's up and coming, and then of course the Middle Eastern region in general, just regarding access through water canals and those things. So that is a national security issue. Protecting that, having access to it has been important for decades there, and therefore it's been important to the United States. The money that is then spent on protecting resources, that affects national security. When we look 2 chapters back, I think, on the budget and how funding is allocated by Congress. When we talk to, or when that is discussed, and the issue then comes down to beans and bullets or the environment, there can be friction there, whether it's for the national economy. Regardless, that can be, and that's a national security issue. All of it is linked. I also wanted to talk about the lack of urgency or immediacy. Environmentalists tend to think very long term. How is global warming going to affect us, 50 to 200 years from now, whereas politicians are most often cognizant of what's going to get them through the current election cycle. So there's just a lot of disparity here between significance and timeline. It's not that it's not important, but when do we get to it? How do we allocate funding for it? And then the funding that it's going to take to make changes. So these are all very important issues. We do understand in environmental science, for those of us who've taken that scarcity of resources is something that could lead to war and leads to conflict. And there's a lot of movement right now to have international involvement through the United Nations and the EU regarding the sharing of resources, and the cleaning up of resources like waterways that have been damaged. So this is an important topic, and I hope we continue to focus more on it as a nation. It's time, and I hope this helps to answer that question and its relevance to national security. Thanks, guys.